Shalom Barak, peace and blessings. It's time for a party. Today's party, we're going to call it like chocolates. We get together 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about entrepreneurship and service in your community. We have 10 special interest groups that we speak on. Today's special interest group is Good Food Bins. As a perspective for marketing, as far as organic marketing strategies is concerned, we use Good Food Bins to think about social media. And so today's party theme, like chocolates. We all know about Forrest Gump and what he had to say about chocolates. So we're going to run with that because social media platforms and social media itself is like chocolates. He says a box of chocolates. Now, aside from reading whatever the label tells you, if you were to go and grab some chocolate, harvest some chocolate from an actual tree from the plant, it's not going to taste the same from every plant. It will be chocolate, but it's not going to be uniform. Recently, my interest has been piqued concerning Burkina Faso. I was looking up some more information, and it was regarding ECOWAS, ECOWAS. It's basically it's a commerce group of Western African nations, and Burkina Faso was part of it, and now they have submitted a withdrawal. We've got one in YouTube world. Shalom Aparak to you. Talking about Burkina Faso, we're going to get into today's party, which is like chocolates. Our special interest group is Good Food Bins. As I was saying, though, Burkina Faso has submitted a withdrawal from ECOWAS. Now, I have to dig deeper to see how and why, but the report says that that went in on January of this year, 2025. I also saw information where Burkina Faso is also um, accepting help from Russia. Burkina Faso is also looking at becoming part of BRICS. The help from Russia came from some grains and some other things being transported in as a show of help and faith, support, food, right? Seven in YouTube land. Shalom Barak. Peace and blessings to all of you. Thank you for stopping in. So, with the interest in Russia and then BRICS, nine, they're steadily building up. You all don't know. I want to sneak over to TikTok and see how many people have stepped into the room over there too. However, the way this program works on my device, it's best that we just rock and roll how we are doing. Um, so yeah, there's the interest in Russia, and then there's the interest in BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. There's a monetary cohesion going on there. And it's odd that there would be a request from Burkina Faso to be removed from ECOWAS unless there's something going on behind the scenes with ECOWAS. It's been around since 1975. At the time, um, Burkina Faso was called North Volta. And along with a few other countries in the region, countries that have been said to be uh, the word that Captain Ibrahim is using is volunteers, those who are volunteering. It is said that they are all coming from these same regions that nations who have a certain title belong to ECOWAS. So now I have to go and do some research on what's happening in ECOWAS, right? Checking the comments real quick. I don't know who Chris Gale is. Shalom Barak to you, stranger. Shalom Barak to you. Hamza, what's up? Shalom Barak to you too. Bienvenido, welcome. Thank you all for stepping in. I appreciate you hanging out. So, as I was saying, it's kind of interesting that Burkina Faso is withdrawing from ECOWAS and showing interest in BRICS. So, I haven't looked at BRICS in about a year, and I'm overdue. I want to see what's going on. Um, I had mentioned in a couple of lives ago the fact that the United Nations doesn't run the globe. And as a matter of fact, some of the main contributors to the United Nations is BRICS. That's the reason why you can't say it runs the globe because there are different organizations that have their affiliations back and forth. There are the things that are talked about in the headlines as far as news and current events is concerned. And then there's also the power plays that go on that no, the public doesn't know. We only know a few names and catchphrases out of everything that's going on. Which brings us back to the topic of today's party. It's like chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. I've been watching snippets about Burkina Faso, and I haven't had a chance to assemble my own information, my own research, because I'm taking it a little bit at a time. You get snippets when you get a 1 minute short on a social media platform where they want you to check out a highlight. You get a snippet when you get an interview of someone for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It's only a snippet. If there's 24 hours in a day and you get 1 hour of information, there's no telling what had to be condensed or omitted in that delivery. So I'm taking it a little bit at a time. I want to know what was going on in North Volta before the change-ups happened. Because the change-ups happened around 2015. It's a long span of time from 1974 to 2015. There's been a lot going on for the last 7 or 8 years, and we don't know all of the information. We do know that the country of France has been having economic hardships. So now I begin to ponder what would happen if the colonies that belonged to France decided to not pay. I'm scratching my head and scratching my chin because I recently saw a video where the Nation of Islam was involving themselves in a situation in Haiti. You got Dominican Republic and you got Haiti on the same island, and some are saying we should unite, and others are saying we shouldn't. So there's a call to unite. That call has always been there. And then I'm seeing where Rastafarians are wanting to side with Captain Ibrahim, and that would be those in Ethiopia, Axum, or those in Jamaica. And Rastas are also in Haiti, Dominican Republic, as well as everywhere else. So I'm still scratching my head and scratching my chin because, like I said, the research is not done. Even though they give us a little bit of information, we have to go and dig up what else is back there. What else is there to see? Don't give me just a nice presentation. I want to know everything about it. That's the thing about social media. You might get served the things that they want you to see as a highlight. However, that doesn't give you all the context. It doesn't tell you all of the information. What you tell me in 1 minute, I might need 30 minutes. I might need an hour. I might need a whole 2 hour documentary, however you want to pronounce it. Because, like I stated earlier, 1974 to 2015 is a long span of time. It's 41 years. There's a lot that can go on in that time. I'm seeing different content creators, influencers who want to rally and say, well, this was going on and that's going on, and that's why all of Africa did not like President Obama because of what happened with Gaddafi. I'm here to tell you, I remember when Gaddafi's name was spelled differently. Peace be upon him. Live in peace. I remember when it was spelled with a Q instead of a G. I remember when they couldn't understand why there were planes dropping over the oceans when they were taking off. I remember tariffs and gas prices when gas was 75 cents a gallon and people couldn't believe it when it went to a dollar and then $1.25. It was 99 cents for a very long time and then it jumped up. I remember the same bewilderment when postal stamps went up. What's all that got to do with anything? Society, life, social media is a reflection of life. There was a time where we couldn't just turn on our handy dandy device and share with the world whatever we were feeling or thinking or eating or putting our pet in. Check out the sweater that I put my pet in. There was a time when we didn't have that. There was a time when the news that we relied on, even then, was read from teleprompters and people pretty much had the same story. So then we would watch the talk shows afterwards. And it wasn't celebrities. Sometimes there would be a celebrity guest. However, most of the time it was panels of people who actually had studied for years certain subjects and criteria. And therefore, when they were pulled on to talk about the hot points of the day, it was things that they'd already been studying. Then the question was, well, who's being biased? Were they being biased because of the studies or were they being biased because of politics? And most of the time, politics weren't involved. Politics didn't get involved until someone started talking about what was going to be foreign or domestic. And if it was foreign, which country did it come from? Because some were allies. And then it was competition of quality. And then it was technology. Social media used to be just fed to us. Excuse me. Radio, television, film, those were all ways that we were just being fed information. Now we can actually communicate. We can actually um, have a dynamic of back and forth. Before, the only way we could do that was just telephones or writing letters or the telegraph. Then the frequencies became open and we had CB and ham radios. But now we've gotten to the point to where we can actually see each other while we speak. What used to take a month for a letter to travel over the ocean, we can now send a message and respond in less than 5 minutes. Along with that information has come misinformation, because that was always part of it too. For all of the times that we've had the ability to communicate as a society, there's also been another element that gave miscommunication. That goes with just about everything that is part of society, though. Lascivious. Word for the day, lascivious. No, my brother came up with the name of his company. He meant no ill will to anybody. He wasn't being lascivious at all when he said, I want to call it Good Food Bins. And he wasn't worried about Godspell or good day, good night, and so on and so forth. He was actually trying to find the most Taba name he could think of. And I saw it in his heart, because the next words that came out of his mouth was, there's all types of food. There's all types of bins. There's lots of things you can call food. And there's lots of things you can find in bins. I want to do the concept of good food bins. Because, yes, there are a lot of things that can be considered food. If you are what you eat, and the information that you retain is what you eat, you should watch what you eat. Now, believe it or not, good food bins is not a label. It's attached to a label. Green Thumb Lo-Fi. What can you do with social media when you're trying to feed the people? There's the responsibility of standing on the content that you create and you upload. And then there's the responsibility of watching what it is that you consume from other creators. And that could be suggesting to other people, sharing content that you watch, give someone else a chance to see something new that might help them out. And then also filtering when you see misinformation. Now, there's a special campaign out here identifying and then diagnosing and medicating those who suffer from smooth brain syndrome. And this is shared to you via Brother the Mad Trucker. Now, in order for it to actually be healed, fixed, the patient has to be willing to comply, willing to administer the treatment. It's real simple. For those of you who are stuck in certain ways and you've got this white waxy salve that causes a certain surface underneath that skin and that skull, and sometimes it gets shined up. Now, it takes Brother Mad Trucker to give you this part. Shined up with a machine that goes about 30,000 RPMs. Because that white salve, if you looked on the side of the box, it's a representation of a certain mentality. And the thing is, it's not only detrimental, causes mental, spiritual, and physical disability, dismemberment, to the point of loss of life, simply by following those ways. Oh, looky there. 15% on the battery. Guess who needs to connect to the charger? So here we are. Social media is like chocolate. You never know what you're going to get because you never know what's on the next person's mind when they decide to post something. If you ever been to Georgia, raise your hand. If you ever been to Atlanta, raise your hand. If you ever went job searching in Atlanta, raise your hand. To become gainfully employed in Atlanta, Georgia, you have to have a certification. You have to have a certification for darn near anything. You don't get to go and just work at McDonald's. You have to have a certification for food service. You don't get to be a dock worker. You have to have a certification for um, inventory handling and something else. Forklift certification. Um, you get my drift. For every type of occupation, there's a certification that you have to have if you want to be permanently employed in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, anyone can have a phone with a microphone and a camera, turn on their device, and automatically become an expert at whatever they decide they want to talk about. No certification needed. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of violations that people actually commit that are allowed because there's no certification required. You don't need a certification to randomly post. You need the certification when you actually claim what you post. Now, there's some people that claim false information, wittingly or unwittingly. There's some people who sell you a dream just like they would sell you a car or sell you a trinket. There are people who put on dramas just to tug at your heartstrings. There are people who play instruments. There are people who stand on the corner and they put a hat in front of them while they do such things. And then there's other people who open chat and comment boxes with super chat and tip boxes for the same reason. Now, not all of those people are on here for your best interest. Not all of them are on here to spread a key message. They all have a message. So it's our responsibility to figure out what kind of chocolate are we digging into. Because like I said at the beginning of this party, if you were to go to an actual cacao tree, go to the plant and take your pick, 3 or 4 different ones, hack them down, peel off the shell and the hull and all that stuff until you get down to the actual cocoa. Bite into it. One, it's not going to taste like anything you got from a store. Two, out of all of your bites, they're not going to be uniform. There will be the resemblance of what you're tasting, the fruit you're tasting. But, excuse me, it's not going to taste the same every time. There's a lot of different social media platforms out here, and there's certain things that you are allowed to do depending on which platform you are using. I've given a challenge. If you're used to working with 1 or 2 platforms, why not expand to 9? I mean, you could make it even again, but the idea is, do you know of 9 different platforms? I had someone look at me because I said, yeah, I'm active on Pinterest. And they said, I wouldn't even be concerned with dead platforms. Now, at that time, it was about a year ago. I was happy because I was checking out some of my posts, and then I looked at my profile and said 1,000 visitors. Well, on Pinterest, it says 1,000 monthly visitors, right? Hmm. Next time around, I looked and it said 1.2, and it went to 1.5. Well, it's not dead if it's growing. Looked at it recently. A couple of months ago, it was at 1.7. Then it went to 1.8. And then skip over the twos at 3,000 visitors at my Pinterest profile. Halal yeah, right? So even where you might think something is dead or asleep doesn't mean that it is. Sometimes it's about what you post and what people are actually looking for in traffic. You know, what what are you posting that has some of validity with current events? Now, I'm not one that goes out and hits up on trends all the time. You know, the main reason why Burkina Faso is on my mind is repatriation all day. And there are certain countries that we hear about that are in Africa um, that are prosperous. Burkina Faso happens to be one where they're talking about it's of the lowest as far as profits and yields are concerned. So, yeah, I'm especially interested. I want to know what's going on there. And then to hear about the idea of them considering getting with BRICS, or even how far they want to deal with working with Russia. I want to know because many of the countries in that area in Africa do not deal with cryptocurrency. However, BRICS is very major in cryptocurrency. I see that there are physical presences that will show up as volunteers compared to what is being said on paperwork. And we know how paperwork goes. So some of the information that I've read in articles may have been swayed and biased. That's why the research goes on. In college, when we had to write a paper, we were told what the details would be at the beginning of the week. On Monday, we're told you're going to write a paper. It's going to be 5 pages long. You must have references and citations. You will turn your paper in next Monday. So I'm giving myself that amount of time. Haven't quite come up with a theory yet because I still have to see what the change up was from North Volta for it to become Burkina Faso. Because when I first heard that name, Burkina, that means something else. So I also saw a slogan or something where it was saying that was also what the name means, and it's something different. So I want to dig as deep as possible and find out as much as I can and actually give a report because it's been a while since I've done that. And there's the proof. You don't have to pay college tuition in order to write a report. Honestly, that's something that I could and should do for each of these lives. It should actually be a report like that. It's something I was planning on doing. First, we have to get things rolling, though. I have papers from my college days, ones that I can still see the notes that I was writing as I was researching. I can see the backbone to the outlines before I actually organized it up and typed it out into the full papers. I've got those notebooks, some of them with me. But no, I'm thinking about current events reports. They wouldn't necessarily take up a whole 2 hours. They would take up a bit of time. Um, thought about slideshows. However, the way my setup is right now, the slides would have to come from YouTube, and by then it would be a video already uploaded and published, which would take care of it. So that's not the same. Um, so I guess there won't be too many props aside from when I do show a video screen when I'm sharing something from YouTube. I'm not going to have too many props. Maybe a notebook here and there, or something I'm reading from, or that handy dandy laptop. Meanwhile, in erstwhile, Like chocolate. Social media is like chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. Much full about focusing on Burkina Faso for another reason. I was watching this other content creator who was speaking about there's the CIA and then there's the culture CIA. CIA is actually one of those alphabet organizations that does investigative reports. And they have done certain things to uh, cause chaos within certain communities. And then there are the incidents that happen where it's not necessarily a CIA plant, it's just people acting according to all of the times that those plants have been done. And it's a muscle memory. It gets planted there enough to where people start acting and doing disjointed things. And we want to blame it on a CIA plant when that's not the case. It's just picking up detrimental behavior. And so I'm guarded about the information that I'm picking up from social media when it comes to economic, political, military situations, especially when we're being spoon fed. I hadn't really heard that name of that nation until here recently. Then it was just something that was cranked up, but everybody wants to talk about it. When this coup happened between 2015 and 2017, it wasn't quiet. However, that wasn't something that was jumping out in the news. Between 2014 and 2020, there was a brother of mine I was walking the path with, and he kept talking about how he wanted to be part of Hausa and people around them and all of that. So when I was reading up on Burkina Faso and I saw that Hausa and Masi and all of that, everybody was intermingled, it raised my eyebrow. Now, the brother I was walking with, he wasn't necessarily talking on the same thing that I'm seeing from the news right now. I remember people talking about the movie Blood Diamond and all that. We weren't talking specifically about that area. It was just in that zone. And people have always been talking about child labor and all of that. But no, there was no big to do in the news that I remember. That was at a time when I was looking out for things like that. There were some wild situations that were happening. I do remember um, somewhat there were racial flare ups, but not really. It was like people were on the edge. The region that I'm from, the spring and the summertime, there's a lot of humidity in the air and it causes people to be on edge. Kind of like the hottest point in the summer is when people do some real crazy things. And some of that was going on. It wasn't like we did not realize 3 or 4 years later there would be rioting in the streets. It was just people were on edge. But no, I didn't hear anything about a coup and democracy falling to the side and military taking over and no, France not covering the expenses correctly. We heard about it before through the other different countries that were being colonized or treated as colonies. But no, everything wasn't out there. And so that's part of what the young man was saying when he was talking about CIA and then cultural CIA. There was a time when we didn't have these devices, so everybody could turn on their cameras at any given moment. We could only capture certain times, and we were misfed information. I'm also still in the midst of studying those responsibilities for the different branches of the family of Yahasharaya. I've seen the names, I've seen the meaning of the names. However, there's supposed to be some duties. Each of them has duties. The same way there's 12 gates and there's 12 different stones, there's 12 duties that would actually support the infrastructure of a city, of a kingdom, of a system. I've seen it. It's not something I'm making up. I know it's there. I just have to find it. I was thinking about if I wanted to have a playlist today. I'm always trying to sneak in some music. It's all part of the plan. Interesting. Tag isn't at the bottom of the screen anymore. I can't help it. I'm doing my push buttons, but sometimes just can't help it. You know, the thought did not even occur to me yesterday to mention Cinco de Mayo. Shame on me. I didn't celebrate Cinco de Mayo any more than I do Juneteenth. If you think about it, if I'm going to honor the liberation of a country, give them all their land back. Give all rights back. Free all political prisoners. Good food bins. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to slide over real quick just to see what's happening on TikTok. See if we've had any visitors. If you all pardon me, I'm going to do just that. Thought I was going to go and check the TikTok page. However, my screen has told me. So we're not going to sweat it. Write it on out. Haven't used the catchphrase for the day, so we're going to be rocking and rolling. We're rocking and rolling before the electric guitar. We're rocking and rolling before that boat that no one wants to talk about because we're traveling, visiting. See, now that's why there's a challenge. I want to know if you have 9 social media platforms that you use because that's where you're casting your nets to. There's the main use, that's your hub, different social media accounts. So I want you to think about that. If you sign into Facebook or you sign into YouTube, and that's pretty much what you do, we need to make some. First off, you actually do need your own website, even if that means starting up a Wix site, a Squarespace site, WordPress. Start up a free site. You can pay for your domain later because once you've set up that web page, they give you the option and you get the web page there. And when you're setting it up with those sites and when you pay for your domain, it just means that if you're using WordPress, then it takes WordPress out of the address. In my case, I do have a WordPress. 3P Roads of Highest Heights .wordpress.blog because I haven't paid for a domain. I have a free one. Y'all, pardon me, I messed up when I decided to dare and push buttons. Yes, I want to move forward without adding channels. I didn't mean to do that earlier. Well, there's no telling what this is going to make it do. Anyway, so you want to get your own domain so that you can broadcast from your domain. That would be your boat. If you have Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, um, there's quite a few different ones. Those would be your social media channels. You want 9 of those. Post your stuff on your website, and then way. The main idea that we wanted to express today in this party is that it's like chocolate. Social media platforms and even social media is like chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. When we tune into these different social media platforms and they have the For You page set up and we're scrolling through to see what they want to tell us, we never know. However, there is a TV guide, so to speak. There is a process behind the programming. Excuse me. Main idea, though, is we have to start assuming control of the content. You see that hashtag going out about internet influencer. Even if you're just posting up pictures of what you ate or what outfit you're wearing or the latest trick that your dog can do, you are an influencer. And the things you post, the things that other people post, the things that you interact with, you can empower yourself and control what it is that comes on your screen by what it is that you choose to watch, not what they choose for you to watch, what you choose to upload as your content, because you never know what they're going to try to feed you. There was a time when we watched television and all we could do was watch it. Now we can interact. There was a time when we couldn't just open up our devices and just share whatever we wanted to. We didn't have people just putting up whatever information they wanted to say. There was a time when you had to be certified. Now we've come to the day and age where even though it's the information age, we need to check all information, whether it's positive or negative, because sometimes it is just there to feed off of our emotions. I've been letting you all know about some studies I'm doing concerning Burkina Faso because it has to do with the livelihood and the stakes of diaspora on a global level. There are many different uh, groups that could claim their own diaspora. There are many different groups that could claim being Aboriginal or indigenous. Not all melanated people actually do agree and get along. So, what could I call my personal diaspora? Those who agree that there is only one creator who is worthy of worship. Those who agree that Ravak HaKadosh, the Holy Spirit, is an agent of our Creator, Yahweh Elohim, and our Messiah, Yahashua HaMashiach, walked in the flesh and showed us how we were supposed to live. He was crucified because it also had to do with the actual revealing of the first words, Barashayat. Studying the characters in that word tells you more than just in the beginning, a story of how it was going to develop, what comes at the end, and not the completion, the fulfillment, because the completion isn't done yet. There's still life. So those who are willing to walk with that, that's what people I align myself with. And that's more than choosing allies. It's the family I work with. I still haven't figured out who Chris Gale is. Saeed Ahmed. I remember that name. Shubham Cordia. Sayed Ahmed. Yeah, I remember your name. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom Barak to all of you. Peace and blessings. Father's peace to you. You're walking in right when I was about to close things down. Today's party was called It's Like Chocolate. I've been talking about the social media platforms and the information that we get compared to what you can actually get when you do some research. The past few days, I've been talking about Burkina Faso and the things that I'm learning, not just what I'm watching on YouTube shorts and TikTok shorts and things like that. I've been doing some reading in the background. I looked up some stuff in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and now I'm digging into different articles. I want to know some historical things, like what was going on with the country when it was called North Volta. I want to know why I saw where Burkina Faso is putting in a withdrawal from what is it? ECOWASA. I can't remember what it's called now. ECOSA, ECOWSA. Um, Trying to figure out what's going on with why Burkina Faso wants to align with Russia and BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Uh, because right now, as far as I know, most African nations don't really do a lot of trade with cryptocurrency, and that's a major backer with BRICS. They are traders in cryptocurrency. That's how they are building all of the infrastructure they're building. That's part of what has me on the pursuit that I'm looking at. There's a holy family that had 12 different branches with different responsibilities. And those responsibilities are what kept up the infrastructure of the kingdom. I'm trying to track that down so I can say, hey, everyone, let's walk with these blueprints and get the nation going. All of that to say, we have 10 different special interest groups that we speak on. And today's special interest group is good food bins. There are a lot of things that we could consider as food, not just the things that we eat and ingest into our bellies, the information that we feed our minds. It's also food. When we read the scrolls, we eat the scrolls. In some languages, bin means son. We know it also means bucket or something to carry things in, a bin. The more that you spend time with me, the more you will find out. I like to find all of the different meanings and definitions of words and put them all to use. That's why I always want to know the original versions and meanings, because we want to start there and then decide if we want to add on. I have an issue with not knowing what I'm going to get when I open up social media. I would like to know that when I tune in to certain things, I'm going to get a certain message. And there's other messages that I don't want in my eyes, in my ears. I don't want to eat that information. I want you to think long and hard about your own personal pursuits, whatever enterprise that you're involved in, whatever community group you deal with. And think about if you're actually getting your message promoted in a beneficial manner, in a productive manner. That's also part of your mission. Your mission statement should involve not just what it is that you can do as a talent, it should also involve what you can do to get the message out there that it exists. Not going to push too much further today. Got some research I need to do, got some catching up I need to do. Need to let this device cool off before I start. Right. Got some business to take care of. And I have a video that I need to share with all of you concerning Burkina Faso. For anybody who's watching right now or happens to watch later, here's an insider scoop. There were some text boxes I didn't get a chance to put into this particular video. There's a whole segment that's blacked, but it does have a picture in picture. That part showed up on the frame. My device was acting up. And I decided, for the sake of actually getting the content out there, I could deal with a couple of watermarks and one spot where the frame didn't show the image I wanted, because I needed to get the idea out there. And there's always next round. There's always next time. I pray that you all are having an excellent day and carry on until your evening and the next day. For all of us who are part of Sahaba, the Promise Keepers, who know La ilaha illallah, I also say, Inshallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, yubarik aluma wa sahaba. By the will of Adon, may we be blessed, secured, and healed. Ameen. Yahaba Ahava, Yahava is love. Ahava Ahava, love is love. That makes complete compassion. Ame Tobo, Ame Tafa. Until next time. Father's peace to you all.